Thank you, thank you. I am Reverend Karen Lewis. It is my joy to welcome each and every person right here in the sanctuary, each and every person right where you are. I am waiting for technology to allow me to look the other way too. Although I see some people are like, oh no, please don't. Oh, it is such a joy to be here. It is such a joy to feel the energy of aliveness that is the New Vision Center. Just as Jeff has already pointed to, this community that loves to connect with one another, loves to celebrate one another, loves to call each other into our highest and best. Welcome home. That's the work we do here. Welcome home. So I am so excited to be here today with you. And I had an interesting week. I had an interesting week of being interviewed twice from beloved ministerial students who are finding themselves in this class called First Ministry. And one of the assignments in that class is to connect with ministers who are living it, who are working as ministers. And it was really interesting for me to connect with what I thought ministry would look like and what it truly is. So it has been a great, great week for me. And the message that came out of all of this week is called Our Walk in the World. Our Walk in the World. Do you know how rare it is that you are born exactly how you are born at this time? Do you ever think about that? What had to happen in the world for this beloved you to come through into this earth plane with the parents that you have, with the DNA that's at the very center of your being. Scientists have actually done research what the ratio is. What is the chance? And I let you think about that a little bit while I share with you how the Buddha answered this question when a student came to him and said, how rare is it to be born into human form? And the Buddha thought about it. And he answered how Buddha often answered, with a story. He said, there's a turtle that is laying at the very center of the ocean, asleep for a very, very long time. And at some point it rises up, it makes its way all the way to the top, it breaks the surface of the ocean, it looks around, and it goes back down, only to lay down at the bottom of the ocean, going back to sleep for a long time. We don't know how long. And at some point it wakes up again, it makes its way up to the surface, it breaks the surface of the ocean. The chance that that turtle breaks the ocean at exactly the same place twice, that is how rare it is that you are born in human form. Wow. Now scientists, a lot of scientists, and they did some research. What would that number be? They took into consideration the likelihood of us being born exactly how we are, taking into consideration wars and famine and birth control pills and all of those things. And they came up with a number. Are you ready? It is 1 to 400 trillion. Now, what does that make you want to do? Does that make you want to jump up and say, I won, I'm here. Each of us. Yes, it is amazing how precious life is. This gift that we have been given, and I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm so clear on it, I'm so aware of it, I feel it often when I'm here at the New Vision Center, when I am speaking, or when I am sitting with a beloved in pain, or when I'm mentoring someone, or if I'm teaching. I am so clear on that. And then I leave. I drive down the street, someone cuts me off. I go home, take out the trash, and I forget. I forget. We forget. Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching, said, as we think, speak, talk, and commune with each other and with nature and with God, there will never be an answer to us beyond the level of our approach. Beyond the level of our approach. So what that means to me is, the more that I can find ways to remind myself of this precious gift that life is, the better off my life is, the life of those around me, the life of this community in some ways, and the life of the world. And that is not just for me the case. That is for each and every person. And so I spent this week thinking about how can I remind myself, what can I offer as a reminder for us so that we remember that 1 in 400 trillion chance that we are here now. Exactly who we are, how we are, this gift that we are. And so we're going to take a look at 3 different ways of relating to this. And the first one is how to relate to that which is greater than we are. If we're anchoring into our relationship to the divine, it opens the wisdom of source for us. We could call this the work of being. The work of being. And then we're going to take a look at our life experiences. I remember one time we had a practitioner retreat here, and I believe it was Rochelle McCreary did this wonderful exercise with us, and we were given a blank sheet of paper, and we were asked to draw our life experience on it. It was powerful. And so the second relation that we want to take a look at today is, how do I relate to the river of experiences that have brought me to this now moment? It is what opens us up to the wisdom of life on earth. We might call this the work of being human. And the third one, this is the one we're probably most familiar with. How do we relate to ourselves and to each other? And this we could think about as opening up the wisdom of care. How do we care for ourselves and for one another? And this could be called the work of love. So we start with the work of being. In the 1930s, there was a divinity student studying to become a minister. And in his second year, he got ill with polio. And of course, it turned his world upside down. Many people were offering advice, help, medical help. And he contemplated for a long, long time, and he chose to leave the seminary and, of all things, learn how to dance. And you can imagine the response of the people he told that to. Now, what's amazing is that this individual went on and became someone who not only healed themselves of polio, but is now considered the father of modern dance in America. His name is Ted Shawn. It's the story of Ted Shawn. Now, what does this tell us? He studied the divine, but what helped him to heal was to embody his own calling. To bring into his own life that's what he listened to, that small, still voice that is there even when pain, emotional pain or physical pain is so loud that it is hard for us to hear it. He was able to listen to it, to catch it. We have all been there. We have all been in crisis. We have all experienced that tumbling down of our beautiful construct. Yes? Yeah. A phone call, a diagnosis, a divorce, something. It is in those moments that we are asked to trust enough, to have enough faith to listen to that small, still voice. Many of you have heard me say my very favorite benediction. It comes from a practitioner at the Mile High Church, and Reverend Dr. Michelle Madrano brought it to us with the Taizé service many, many years ago, more than 2 decades ago now. And it goes this way. May you so walk that whoever walks beside you abides in the presence of Spirit knowingly. And whoever places a hand in yours, may they be lifted up immediately. Whoever reaches you in mind, may the mind be in them that is the divine. And may all those who come to know you learn the eternal truth. God and I are one eternally. Now, who is that I? It is not me, Karen. It is the universal I. It is the I that lives at the center of our being for each person everywhere, if we believe it or not. It is the I that is the I am. And how we relate to that I am, to that which is greater than we are, that allows us a smoother walk in this world. Mark Napo, my favorite author, says it this way. Oh, I have glasses. I can read this. The best chance to be whole is to love whatever gets in the way until it ceases to be an obstacle. The best chance for us to be whole, to make our way back to the wholeness from which we came, which we always are, just sometimes we can't see it. The best way for us to feel whole again is to love whatever is in the way until it ceases to be an obstacle. That is how we relate to the divine. Let's take a breath. Within us, still celebrating the 1 in 400 trillion. And it brings us to the work of being human. The work of being human. This part really asks us to look at, how do I relate to my experiences in life, the things that happened? Can I come to a place where I am like grateful for even the ugly because it brought me here? Can I be grateful for even the painful because it has developed characteristics in me that I love? Or am I still angry? Are there still things that I have not forgiven, that I carry? It reminds me of this ancient teaching story of a sage who didn't know he was a sage. And he would go to the Ganges River, and he would go into the river to pray and to purify himself. And in one of those mornings, he noticed a little spider right to his side. And so he stopped his praying and picked up the spider and put it over to the land. What he didn't know was that this was a poisonous spider. And so the spider did what spiders do. He stung him. But because he was a sage who didn't know he was a sage, he got stung, but he didn't get poisoned. The very next day, he comes back. The sage who didn't know he was a sage steps into the river, prays, and the spider's right there. So he picks him up. The spider stings him. He lays him down on the ground and continues to pray. The third day, he's at the river, he's praying, and you guessed it, he looks, there's the spider. He picks up the spider, and the spider said, "Man, don't you get it? I am going to sting you, because that is what I do." And the man said, "Spider, don't you get it? Being kind is what I do. So I'm continuing to going to rescue you." Perhaps you can relate to that. Perhaps you have found yourselves in a situation where, despite being hurt before, you are willing to open your heart again. Despite the challenges of this experience of being human, you are willing to lean in again, to be open, to show up. Kindness is not altruistic. Kindness helps us to strengthen that muscle that helps us to bear the sting of the world. Kindness is what reminds us that we truly are one. There's only one of us. And we may be above the line or below the line, or we may be in a crisis, or we may be on top of the world. Regardless, we are all one. There's only one of us. And I do believe that we are here to walk each other home, to walk each other back into that awareness of wholeness, of oneness. And it hurts. I am sure it hurt when he got stung by the spider. We got hurt. There are experiences in our lifetime that hurt us. And yet, if we are willing to allow those experiences to shape us, but not to define us, that is what makes the walk here on earth gentler, kinder, easier. The work of being human I believe our quote is from Barbara DeAngelis. Love and kindness are never wasted. They always make a difference. They bless the one who receives them, and they bless you, the giver. The root of kindness, of the word kindness, is very close to the root of the word kinship. And if we think about it, maybe allow your eyes to close for just a moment. Think about a time where you experienced yourself as being kind to another. And see what that does. Immediately to our experience, it opens our hearts. It opens our minds. It removes those barriers, those us and thems we put out so often. Yes, how can we be kinder in the world? And that brings us to our third point, the work of care. The work of how we interact with one another. In my research this week, I learned about an individual by the name of Mencius, who lived 200 years after Confucius, which is still 300 years prior to the Common Era, so a long time ago. He is credited with bringing forth the notion that humans are inherently good. And you know what? There was another camp, and there still is another camp. There's the camp of individuals of faith traditions that believe that humans are inherently not good and have to be controlled and have to be put into rules so they don't become wild, ranging beasts. Wow. Now, this is probably not a big surprise, but I'm in this camp over here. I believe that we are inherently good at the very center of our being, that we are good, that yes, challenges happened, we have maybe forgotten some things, we have done things that don't look on the surface as being good, but underneath all of that, we humans are good. And I believe that is the work of how we relate to one another, how we care. This work of love is to be willing to be with another who has temporarily forgotten it and be there. And say, I see you. I see the you that is not caught up in their own pain. That is the work of ministry, to minister to one another. The sociologist Ivan Illich said it this way: spiritual hospitality is helping another cross a threshold. And I love that. It doesn't say what this threshold is, but to be there when one is going through a transformation, if that is being born or leaving this planet, if that is a diagnosis, a divorce, to be there for another, to support them through that crisis, to help them cross the threshold. Here at the New Vision Center, We are in the business of transformation, right? It used to be our vision statement. Transforming lives. And so we attract a lot of people who are going through challenges. I believe that it will help us to remember how to relate to that which is larger than us, to our experiences here on earth, and to one another, to make this walk on earth more pleasant, to make a difference in the world. And so our invitation for this week then becomes naturally, what is ours to lay down? Because this work, the work of love, we can do much easier when we lay down the other things, the things that get in the way. So what are you willing to lay down? What habit, what thoughts, what limiting belief that doesn't serve anymore are you willing to lay down right now? Connect with it. And then when I walk through your mind this week, which I'm planning on doing several times, you will say, oh, yes, yes. I said I would lay down the belief that I am not enough, or that I am too young, or too old, or too whatever. The whole idea of not enoughness is being laid down, and instead I want you to hear what a precious gift you are. 1 in 400 trillion. That is how rare you are. I'm so grateful you are on this journey together with me. So it is. Well, let's take that energy and invite all of the practitioners, all of the ministers of this teaching to please rise, stand with me, hold this space, this deep knowingness of that there's a power for good in the universe. It is greater than we are, and we are invited to use it. It is love, it is peace, it is harmony, it is abundance, it is joy, it is plenty. And we allow ourselves to feel this goodness with every cell of our beingness, right where we are. And then we step into it fully, recognizing that if God is all there is, then God is within me, is in you, it is in all of us. And so we have our being in this energy of love, in this energy of goodness, in the divine. And it is from this place that I so gratefully declare the goodness of life, making itself known easily and effortlessly by means of these beloveds, by means of this consciousness that has been so fully established here. How grateful, how very, very grateful I am to be here, knowing this truth with these beloveds. And so there's nothing more to do but to place this word into universal law, to know that it is done, it is complete. I let it be. And together we anchor this truth as we say, and so it is.